I'm going to start, Christos, by welcoming you as my guest to the third Under the Hood. This all started with this idea that I meet phenomenal people who have phenomenal backgrounds and histories and so many things to teach other people. And I am very clear that patterns that were created in childhood do impact us as grown-ups. It's not the thing that we talk about a lot in business circles, but from my experience of 39 years, I know you scratch the surface a little bit, and there's people behind there, real people with real issues and things that they have done and courageous things. And so I just decided to start this program, and I am delighted to have you, Christos, as my guest. So I'll tell you a little bit about Christos. There's a lot of I read this over, Christos. There's a lot of initials and things that I don't really understand, but I do understand that you are the CTO at Security Scorecard. They are an experienced leader, technologist, blogger, and geek. They're interested in big distributed systems and how to build teams to implement and maintain them. Christos grew up in Montreal, Canada, where they started their career as a DBA for companies such as Matrox, CGI, Sync, and Intertrade. Then they moved to Silicon Valley, where they built and led engineering teams for FireEye, Tenable, Netflix, and YouSendIt. They have worked on cloud storage solutions for YouSendIt before the term cloud was popular. They're also focused on solving at-scale runtime databases using sharded, this is where I get a little confused, RDBMS and NoSQL products. I know there's people on here that understand that. They are an Apache Cassandra MVP. So welcome, Christos. Again,
it's like somebody fed
you.
you that. It's like somebody fed you that, Tina. So thank you. Number one, congratulations on your podcast, episode 3. They say if you get beyond 4 episodes, then you'll continue it. So I'm very happy to be amongst the first ones. This is an honor for me to share my thoughts and some of my experiences with your audience. So thank you for having me, Tina.
Oh, awesome. And the fun thing about this is that it's live. It's not just you and I talking and then broadcasted to people. We have real people here. And as Lewis had said one time, he said, it's like being in your living room. So you're in my office and your home office, and here we are. So I have a couple questions that I prepared, and we're going to start with the questions, and again, we can go any which way. But to start out with, Christos, tell us a little bit about your background and your family of origin, if you would.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you touched upon it a little bit in the introduction. I'm the youngest son of Greek immigrants who emigrated to Canada, Montreal specifically, in the 70s and in the early 70s. So born in Montreal, raised very Greek within the Greek community up in Montreal, which very much shaped my life moving forward. But both in good ways and maybe in ways that needed improvement down the line, but definitely had a big imprint on me and continues to this day. Parents owned a Greek market, a Greek specialty market, where I worked in at a very young age. That was my first job, and probably worked there until while I was in high school, college, and going through, you know, all of that academic learning, and in parallel, picking up skills in leadership, good habits, bad habits as well. And which I know we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm going to interrupt you right there.
But that's who I am, right? That's who I am. That's what has shaped me. You know, about 15 years ago, I moved to the U.S. Followed followed a girl. That's kind of how it happens, right? Followed who now is my wife, and we started a life here in San Jose, California, the heart of Silicon Valley and technology, especially at the time. And since then, we've had two lovely children who I love to death. Don't like them sometimes, but I love them to death. And it's been quite the adventure, and not over yet. The journey's still going, but I'm looking forward to it.
Certainly not. All right, so I'm going to stop you for a minute, and I'm going to go back a little bit. So to be more specific, because people say to me all the time, "Oh my God, I have so many problems, so many issues, so many things." No, it's not really true. We only really have a couple patterns that we create over and over and over again. So, what are some of the patterns, behavior patterns, Christos, that you did develop in response to your upbringing?
So, there's some good ones, and there's some, like I mentioned, I
Share
had
whatever
to.
you choose to do.
Let's start with the good ones. So, being the child of immigrants who came to a country with very little, uneducated immigrants, just with a very strong work ethic and an entrepreneurial spirit, that was imprinted on me. So hard work was imprinted on me at a very young age. You worked in the public, so respecting other people was imprinted on me at a very young age. Where it wasn't a corporate setting. It was very much, a blue collar type of environment. So I picked up some bad habits on managerial skills where it was very top down, very micromanaging, and those are some of the bad habits I mentioned earlier that got picked up and needed work on.
Right. So again, which ones have served you? Some of the
Yeah.
managerial ones that
So
work
let's talk about which
entrepreneurially.
have served me. The ones that served me well are the empathy for others and hard work. Look, no one's going to hand anything to you ever. You need to work hard and smart as well. You need to listen to what people are saying. That's the people empathy. You listen to your customers, whether they're internal, they're your peers, or they're paying customers. You need to listen very well and really internalize what's being told to you, and then react and come up with a solution.
So I'm
That
going to
is
stop
that
you
is
for a
one of the
second.
most powerful things I learned.
Right, so I'm going to
Growing
stop you
up.
for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you just for a second because that's so important what you said in terms of taking it in. People think a lot of times that they're listening, they're just hearing, and thinking about the next thing that they want to say, right? So listening is a skill, and it really is. It's something I always say that good mental health is not a natural sport; it's a learned sport. And so that skill, I know, because I know you, how well that has taken you. So I just wanted to emphasize.
Thank you.
um,
Thank
the
you. No,
importance of
absolutely. Active listening, actually paying attention to what somebody is telling you, and then doing something with that feedback, with those insights, with that information being shared to you, is actually listening. And if you can master, and when you have a small business, you have no choice but to master that, because when you're a small business, if you're, it only takes a couple of customers to affect your bottom line, and now you're in the red, right? So you need to be customer focused and customer obsessed, and really meet their needs. Otherwise, you're going to be out of business very quickly.
Right. All right. So let's go to the ones that the other patterns that you developed that you really had to work on, things that really got in your way. And many times we don't kind of do that until we get slapped a little bit and things don't work and life is not going the way we want. So share with us a little bit, if you would.
So interestingly, you use those terms. You got slapped a little bit. I didn't get slapped literally, but figuratively. My first management job or my leadership position was leading an IT team and an ops team in a tech company in Montreal. And I figured, hey, I know how to manage people. I was managing burly 40, 50-year-olds when I was in my teen years, you know? So I got this, right? Interesting that, coming from the culture that spawns Socrates, who believed, I know, you're wise when you know you don't know everything. Interestingly enough, modern Greeks think they know everything. so I went in there and said, I got this. I know how to manage people. I've done this before. And I did a very top-down, fear-based micromanagement style. It didn't take long until my superiors came to me and said, yeah, that doesn't work here. That's not going to work here. You need to adjust your approach. I don't know where you learn these habits. You need to unlearn them and get better. So that was definitely the first time in a corporate setting where I took the bad habits I learned growing up, tried to apply them, and immediately learned that that boat won't float in these waters.
Absolutely. What else? I want to bring something up because I think, I listen to people and find patterns, right? And I notice, and if you can speak to this just as briefly as you want, but you use the pronouns they. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with what you just said in terms of how you have learned to be absolutely inclusive. And just if you could just kind of share.
Sure. So as I changed my style and I evolved, what you also learn is that different team members, different people who work for you or with you have different needs. And one of them is safety, right? Safety to be themselves, safety to be heard, safety to is safety just in the corporate setting, and that they'll get the opportunities. I've chosen professionally to use the pronouns they and them because corporate gender power dynamics are a thing. We can deny it all we want, but it is a thing. And for some, words are very powerful, and even in interacting and pronouns that are being used back and forth, some people are like, why is it always a he that's in charge, that's a manager when somebody gives an example? Or on the other end, when you purposely use a she when talking about a manager in an example, there's other people that cringe to that as well. So I thought long and hard about how can I eliminate that power dynamic and provide a safe environment and really signal as well to those who feel marginalized that I'm here for them, I'm an ally, and I'm providing a safe environment and opportunity for them to grow as well within my team structure. So in the past year or so, I've adopted gender neutral pronouns. It's not a reflection of partner preference, although we can have another conversation about that another time. It's really about providing that safe space, removing those power dynamics completely, at least when referring to me, and really signaling that this is a safe place, you can be yourself, you've got opportunities, and it's resonated really, really well.
Beautiful. And I thought it was important enough because I think it gives an insight Christos, into you and your thoughtfulness and your powerfulness, really, as a modern leader, right? You know, your parents had their style from where they came from. You were first generation,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
then, you know, having to evolve into so many of the changes that are happening now, and that you're adept at that. But I have another question. So, when did you begin to notice that you wanted to reach out and get some support and some guidance and some help in your own personal development, which I know you take so
Absolutely.
seriously?
So it's a journey, right? It's been a journey from that first tap on the shoulder from my supervisors telling me, "Hey, you can't lead that way." You know, the journey's been an interesting and long one, right? It's been some training. It's been some training, leadership training, you know, canned leadership training that is available to all of us. Um, it's been internal training mentors. I've had mentors as well that each have imparted you know, different wisdom on me, which I've adopted. But eventually you hit a point where, you know, within a company, there's just no one else who is going through what you're going through. And although you can have a peer support group, those turn into venting sessions more than anything else. Although you can have a peer support group, even the best tennis players in the world have coaches, right? Who can help them get to that next level. And it's less about, hey, I'm better at your job than you are. It's more about, are you thinking are you thinking of, you know, filling in those gaps? Are you thinking about these other things? You know, we started our relationship about a year and a half ago, Tina, and probably met 2 years ago before that. And I'm a big believer that even if you're at the top of your game, there's still room for improvement, and having that outside perspective kind of, you know, help round you out and make you even a better leader is extremely powerful and extremely helpful. Look, Bill Gates didn't become who he is today without many coaches, as I've read. Jeff Bezos isn't the leader he is today without the coaches he's had. You know, there's tons of actually, I think all the CEOs, the extremely successful CEOs have coach or mentor that they can tap every once in a while when they just want to bounce ideas off of, or they just need an ear to listen. And in some cases with us, me just venting to you, Tina, and you providing very constructive ways to deal with whatever is bothering me at the moment.
Awesome. You know, I say, and this is true of all, we all have blind spots. And the thing about particularly being in the public and being a leader is everybody knows your blind spots, except sometimes us. Right? So it's really behooving to know your own blind spots so that you see what other people see. And we can never see it all. We can just never see it all. So I always think of us, you know, we kind of start out with a lens that's this big, and the coaching is really kind of, I see the bigger picture. And again, having a partner to work with like you, because you're serious and you're coachable. So again, we get a lot of people who say that they
Well, I
want to
mean,
change.
it's not always that comfortable, actually.
Oh, we
No one
didn't talk
wants
about
to hear. It's not comfortable. It's a little awkward to constantly hear, not to constantly hear, but to be pointed out, you know, deficiencies either in your character or how you handle the situation. But it does take, if you're open to it and you're willing to listen, and you get to a point where you recognize, like Socrates, I know that I don't know everything, then you're really opening yourself up to exponential improvement in every
Absolutely.
in all parts of your life, actually.
So again, it takes courage. It does take courage. It's not for the faint of heart, and particularly when you're open and you're open to hear, this is what I see. Have you noticed this? Have you looked at this? Have you, and then you just take the material and you run with it. So let me see if I have anything else, because we have a couple minutes that we can open this up for some questions. You do have a wife and 2 children. You have a very, very, very demanding job, I know. And I know a lot of people are really, really struggling with this. How do you figure it out, Christos, in terms of giving your family time, giving yourself time? You got your guitars, your music.
Yes.
How do you do it?
So lots of time management and prioritization of what's important. There's many things that are urgent, but not necessarily important. That took a lot of work. I sit down in the beginning of the day and I plan my day out. Sunday nights I plan my week out, and I'm constantly weeding things out. If you think life is about making everyone else happy, then you're not making yourself happy or successful, right? So it's really prioritizing what is important and carving out the time for it. And ideally you work for a company, peers, and a boss that recognizes that as well. And you can have those conversations. And it's all right to be wrong that this isn't, at least at the work, this isn't the most important thing, and you can adjust. That's fine. Not everything's carved in stone. A pencil is a very powerful thing because you can erase things with it. But it is really that. It's time management and understanding what is important and carving out the time for it. Now, that being said, there are sacrifices to be made sometimes, right? My 40th birthday was celebrated in Cuba on a Netflix QBR. Now that sounds fun, but I wasn't near my parents. I wasn't anywhere close to my family. My kids weren't around me. I wasn't around my wife. And although I was around some peers who I consider friends, and made the best of it, that was a sacrifice that needed to be made. A lot of you are probably thinking boo hoo hoo on that particular one, but there's been some other stuff. I've missed PTA meetings, which I'd love to have attended. I've missed a birthday here and there. The idea is, if you do miss something, be honest with the people why you're doing it and make up for it. And I'm not just saying materially, make up the time, spend the time. The time I spend with my kids, they have my full attention. The phone is put away. The world could be burning, doesn't matter. I am with my kids and I'm spending time with my kids. That is how I don't know another way to manage it other than that way.
I don't know either. And you've done an awesome job. And we're already just about out of time. We have time for one question, and then I'll get a chance to thank you again. So anybody have one question we have some time for? Something burning that Christos has said or triggered something that you're thinking about or would love an answer to? Don't have to.
I could ask something?
Okay. Christos, yes.
Christos, I really liked you said the word safety. I wrote it down. I think it sounds very important. I just want to ask, did you ever find yourself in a position where people actually used it against you? I mean,
Did you freeze, Costas?
Like,
you elaborate a little bit?
No. Yeah. Did you ever have a situation where you provide safety to people, but the people use it in their advantage? So they exploit it.
Yeah. So
they exploit you.
So well, look. I'd like to think I'm not a pushover. So I and I'm pretty good with boundaries as well.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the word, boundaries. This is what I was thinking about. Is there a balance between boundaries and providing safety?
So providing safety is about making sure it's well understood that everyone will be listened and opinions will be taken into consideration. Safety is not about I will do everything, or any leader will do anything being asked of them blindly, right? When we make decisions as leaders, we take in input, but in the end, we make a decision that is best for the company. When I mean for the company, includes the team members of a company as well, right? The employees of a company as well. There's no formula there, but bottom line is when people, if I can leave a legacy of, I sometimes didn't agree with all of Christos's decisions, but he listened to me and they were fair decisions. That is a legacy I would be proud to leave behind.
There you go. So,
Yep.
It's a great
thank
question.
you.
Thank you for that, Costa.
Yes,
And,
definitely great question. And thank you all for being here. And Christos, I'm so proud of you. Truly.
Tina, I've had many mentors and you're one of them. And I've learned so much with you and I look forward to our continued partnership.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think you really touched on so many things that are truly a model. You don't have it all figured out. None of us have it all figured out, but you're continuously learning and growing and wanting to be there for your people. Christos said to me one time, he said, I don't need your help with the technology. He said, I've got a whole, excuse me, company behind me on the technology, but the people stuff, maybe we could do some work here. And you've been just a wonderful, wonderful student. So thank you again for coming. We're going to have the
Technology is
replays.
easy. People are hard. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you all again for being here. And you'll get to see the replay and pass it along because there's some great wisdom in here. Thanks again. Bye for now.